Now, if you wanted to light up a person, you could either do it by taking a flashlight and illuminating, light painting them over time, over a period of say 10 seconds, or you could illuminate them using a flash. Now, what's the difference? What type of result would you get differently? If you used a flashlight, you're going to have to light paint the person over a period of 10 seconds or so. And so that person would need to be very, very, very still during those 10 seconds in order to render them sharp in the photograph. However, if you used a flash, the flash, it fires in an instant, and there's no light painting really involved. Nothing really happens over time because a flash only takes a fraction of a second to fire the light, and your subject is instantly illuminated. So if you wanted to render a person really sharp, using a flash is very useful for that. One of my favorite tricks to do is to take an external flash, flash it in front of your subject, and then run behind him and start doing a light painting while he is still standing in the same position. It would be a silhouette if you normally photographed it with no flash at all, but because the flash is there, you can see everything. Another thing flashes are useful for is just illuminating anything outside or inside or any sort of object. Flashes can be used with that. You can also use flash gels over your flashes to introduce different color, and we're going to talk about all this stuff right now. Now here's two flashes I own right here. The one on the left is an old manual flash, and the one on the right is a newer flash that can be used with digital Nikon SLRs. So what's the difference between the two? Well, the manual one can only be fired by you, basically, or a wireless trigger, and it only has manual power. It does not have automatic. It can't automatically adjust the power on the flash, which is actually not that big of a deal because 90% of the time we're going to be using manual mode on the flash anyway. The next difference is that the digital flash actually has a feature where you can autofocus in the dark by using the flash's infrared beam. So normally when you try to focus in the dark and you're maybe photographing something in a room, the camera cannot autofocus in the dark. You would have to take a flashlight or something to illuminate your subject in the dark and then focus on it, and then turn off autofocus so you could take your picture. With this, if you just leave the flash on your camera, you can focus with the infrared beam and it's no problem. Now for the colors, you can order these online. Just go to Amazon.com and type in Roscoe Lux, and you will come across this guy. There's like probably 100 or so of different colors in this thing, and it's only $5 for all of these colors. You will notice you can put them on a binder ring, and then you're gonna have to find a way to put them on your flash. So what I did here is I just took some packaging material, I cut it out in the shape that you see here, and I put Velcro on two of the sides so it can just quickly go on the flash. Next, I slide in the little gel, and it just fits, it just wedges in there between the flash and the protective cover. So you can walk around and you don't have to worry about the gel falling out. Now if you don't have any packaging material or Velcro, what you can do is take some packaging tape, just take a big long strip, fold it in half, and tape it to itself so it's not sticky. Then you can place that as the protective cover over your flash and just maybe tape that to the flash if you want to make a cover so you can wedge in those color gels between your flash and the cover. So here's a few quick examples of what you can do. This, you can see that there was a patch of flowers, and I just took a red flash at the top right, a blue one at the bottom, and a green one at the top left. And this was just a single 30-second exposure where you flash it and then you just move the flash, hand holding it, and then flash it again. You don't need 3 different flashes. You just need to move it while it's pitch dark, and then you have the freedom to use one flash as many times as you want to. And then when you combine the lighting out of all those, you'll get like an interesting effect. You'll get different directional shadows, and you will also get mixed color, which is pretty unique. And you can't produce something like that in Photoshop because the light is traveling over the texture of whatever you're photographing. So it's not the same thing as just coloring it in Photoshop. It's totally different. And this picture was just taken quickly in my hallway. There was a red flash at the end of the hallway shining to the right, a blue one behind the camera facing down at the floor, and a green one on the right side of the hallway there. You can see there's a little entryway. I was behind that and shining the flash to the left on the hallway wall. And it's pretty cool for architecture. Another use for it is you can actually go inside an interior of a building and only shine the interior with a certain color, and then the exterior could be normal color or a different color or something. That always produces a pretty cool, interesting result. And again, you can always get those multiple directional shadows using 2 or more flash gels and placing the flash in different locations of your composition. So this one, there's a green flash at the top and a red one at the bottom, and you can see that the shadow that was created by the bottom flash is actually filled in with the color of the top flash, and vice versa. This is why this effect is pretty unique. Now, if you want to be able to wirelessly trigger your flash right after you push the shutter button on your camera, you can get a little wireless trigger. The one I use is a cheap one from China, but it's still pretty good. It's called the RF602. You can look that up on Amazon and get it for your camera. I think it's about 30 to 50 bucks. But the wireless signal on these things can transfer, I think it's up to 100 meters in length. So that's pretty substantial. Now here's an example where the wireless flash trigger was both on the camera and on the flash. And what happened was I pushed the button on the camera, it started taking the picture, the flash went off and fired me right there and froze me, and then I continued to do the light painting throughout the rest of the exposure. In this example, it's a little different because the wireless flash trigger was on the flash, but the transmitter was in my hand. So there's a button on the transmitter that you can push and it will fire the flash. So the flash was on a stand, and as soon as I jumped in midair, I pushed that button on the remote, it fired the flash, it froze me in midair, and then I was free to continue doing the light painting right after that, which was making the orb and making those red lines